All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Cassandra Collin, and I wanted to start off first with a quick introduction on why I decided to start my podcast. So, I'm the oldest of six. I was actually the oldest of five when I was in college. I'm a first generational graduate, meaning I'm the first one in my family to graduate with a bachelor's degree. And my degree also it specializes in mathematics and data science. So when I first started school, I actually wanted to go into engineering, and then one of my teachers slash counselors encouraged me to go into the data field, which I'm so happy I did that because that's currently what I'm in now. I'm a pricing analyst, and I hope to be a data scientist in the near future. So the reason I started this podcast is because one, I found that a lot of people in my family tend to come to me when it comes to financial resources. And when I see resources, it's not money. I mean, whether it's financial tips or advice. And by no means am I a financial advisor. So I do want to start with that disclosure of I am not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. This is more of what did Cass do? So some people come to me on what scholarships I ended up choosing or whether it was subsidized, unsubsidized. And I honestly didn't have anyone in my family to guide me on that. I essentially had to do a lot of research on my own. And I'm someone that does enjoy reading. So I did spend a lot of time reading through so many terms and contracts and many different things for me to find out what it is that is best for me. So when I was in school, I had to go in and decide whether I wanted to do X amount of subsidized, X amount of unsubsidized loans. And then whenever I was after college, I essentially didn't know anything about credit cards. So I had to research, okay, which ones are safe for me, whether it's the credit cards that have high APRs and I get a bonus, or, there's so many different things that you can look into. And that's essentially what I wanted to do in this small journey. Hopefully, it turns into something big, but I didn't have anyone to turn to. And that's why I want to have that available for people who don't have anyone to turn to either. I didn't really have anyone in my family that essentially could guide me in any of this. And also, when it comes to purchasing your first car, like I had no idea that credit scores impacted APR, which I mean, a lot of people know that now, hopefully. But at the time, I didn't know any of that. And now I actually know how to calculate my APR and how much my monthly payment will be, how much it would be if I were to refinance it. So those are all different things that I learned, not just because of my degree, but also because I took the time to really research it and look into it. So I guess I want to be that online mom, online dad that somebody didn't have when they were trying to figure out what was best for their journey. So a couple things that I wanted to go over in the first podcast is really just a overview of what's going to be covered throughout the journey. I mean, I'm going to be hopefully bringing out a new podcast every single week. So it's going to be tips for beginners, essentially. So we're going to go over budgeting. We're going to go over savings. We're going over, basic financial principles and things that we need to understand so that we can get to that next level. We also need to learn how to manage our debt. There's a lot of people who overspend and don't take into consideration what their max budget is. And that's how we end up getting into a lot of debt. Also, setting financial goals. It's important to have those long-term visions for not just for yourself, but maybe your family, for those who have kids or plan to have a family. It's important to look into those things. And also financial literacy, educating yourself on different financial terms. It really empowers you and it gives you more confidence whenever you are looking to, whether it's purchasing a home, purchasing a car, because you're not scared of those terms anymore and you understand what it means. So the other thing is emergency funds. A lot of people do not have an emergency fund, and it's important to have that because you never know what could happen, especially nowadays. Anything could happen, and having a cushion to rely on whenever something doesn't go well or hits the wall, it's it's a lifesaver. That's why it's called an emergency fund, right? And the other thing is tracking expenses. And again, I guess at the end of the day, we have to remind ourselves that the more you learn, essentially, the more you could earn. And you only know what you do know, and we only know what we're exposed to. So learning how to navigate all these financial outlooks can set you up immensely, not just for just personal finances, but also maybe in your job. If you learn how to read contracts, if you learn how to negotiate, those are all different things that could help you long term. So again, this is not financial advice. This is mainly just kind of a journey that I've gone through. I hope to inspire people by not just through the financial outlook, but also in careers and personal growth. So it took a lot for me to be where I am, not just in my career, but also personally, because there's different things that I have studied about myself. And I had learned in the past that I was an overspender. So I had to really create a budget that worked for me so I wouldn't surpass it, because then we were essentially waiting for next paycheck to come because we were struggling because we had overspent our last one. And that's not something that you want to be in. You want to be able to budget your finances to the point where you feel comfortable and you have enough to cover not just your expenses, but also enough to be able to save, invest, and have fun money. So those are all things that I want to be able to cover during this podcast. And hopefully we encounter a journey where we're all growing and we all learn along the way. So I will also be bringing articles, resources, so many different things that you guys can look into that can help you. I will be attaching links to wherever it is that you're going to be end up listening to. So hopefully you guys get some good nuggets from everything that I'm going to be sharing. So I look forward to creating the financial fitness outlook community. So we're going to have a CFO community coming up here shortly. And the reason why I decided to name Kaz's financial outlook is because it's pretty much how I see things, and how I see things might not be how everybody else sees it. And I want to create a community where people come together and collaborate. And if one way I see it is not how you see it, then by all means share what it is that you have learned, and we can all pick brains and share tips from each other and grow with each other. Because again, the more we learn and the more we know, the better outlook we'll have on what decisions are better for each individual, right? And we want to make sure that we are making the best decision for ourselves and our family. So again, that's kind of the quick introduction on why it is that I started this journey. I didn't have anyone in my pocket to be able to turn to, especially not in my family. My parents did not graduate school. I think they probably went to like grade school, whether it was maybe first or second grade. And they are immigrants. They came from Mexico, and over there it's a lot harder to study than it is here. So I think it's also important to remember that we have the ability to go to school a lot easier than they did. And whether it is that you're listening from a different country or you're listening here locally, and I want to make sure that everyone here has something that they can take away from and gain value. So again, I look forward to starting this journey and sharing what it is that I've learned so far. So I will see you guys in the first podcast.